Welcome to the Soul Happy Success Show. Coach Rebecca here, and today we're talking about how to speak up online without freaking out. This is part one, so we will return for part two next week. So be sure to like and subscribe so that you do not miss it. And I'm going to tell you all about my first live today, and then I'm going to give you three perspectives that you really need so that you can speak up online without freaking out. So let's dive in because my first live was not the dream. I think that it's the life that we all fear that we will have. So I had it, and I would like to give you my experience and then highlight how I am here. I did 21 days as a live challenge on my business Facebook page. You can check out Soul Happy Success. There's a big progression between going live, freaking out, and now. So I want to share with you what I learned. But first, you have to know just how bad this first live was, because don't we all just like live for the gossip sometimes. So here it is. I was going live on Instagram. This was in the days before Instagram Live was like, it was like the precursor days. Like it was the beginning of Instagram Live. It was pre-pandemic. No one was really doing it. And it's not that no one was doing it, it's just that, not everyone in your friend and their dog was doing it. So I jump on this live and I'm walking around this like mini lake. It's called a broch in Shetland, Clickham if anyone is familiar. And I was walking along and I was going to someone I was dating at the time's house. And I was going to meet them and hang out. And, the first days of dating where you're trying to make a good impression. This is really important information, by the way. So I'm walking along this broch and I have the best idea in the world. And I think I should share it with everyone in the world. So I'm like, I'm just going to go live on Instagram and I'm going to share this. So I open up my Instagram. I'm outside. It's Shetland. It's windy. It's not raining. Thank the heavens. But it's not like the best day ever. So there's like a little crackle in the air. And I hit this live button and instantly forget everything I was going to say. Like I thought I was going to break brains with the information that I was about to give, and nothing. I had nothing. So I'm walking along and I'm trying to recoup this information. I'm trying to remember, oh my gosh, what was it I was trying to say in the back of my mind while spitting out all this BS about how it's a nice day and get outside, get your steps in, like be healthy. And I was in kind of fitness and nutrition at the time, so those things made sense, but they just like weren't, they weren't groundbreaking, they weren't brain breaking like I thought they were going to do. So I get about halfway along and some people have started to jump on, and because it was the days before it was really really common and social media addiction was still, it still is at a high, but it was really at a high. And just it felt like everyone I knew was just always on social media, and I believe that if I'd stayed in the same kind of friend circles, that would be accurate. So I'm like walking along and a bunch of my friends are jumping on, and I'm like, oh, this is kind of embarrassing. Like a bunch of my friends are jumping on, but it's okay. And one of my friends, Christina, jumps on, and I'm like, oh my gosh, like girl, come back to Shetland. She was in Germany at the time. And I was like, we miss you. And then the person that I am dating, that I'm going to their house, jumps on. And I am just like in complete shock because, when you like someone and you're just like, oh my gosh, they've just jumped on and I'm like bombing this. This is not pretty. This is not good. So at this point, they jump on. I am like probably white as a sheet. I'm very pale anyway, but the level of white as a sheet, like sickly white, was probably had come over my face. And I was just like, I just have to get off this live. So instead of like pressing just the finish button and just being like, see you guys another time, I just keep going and rambling. And this woman thinks I'm talking to her because it's a dog park as well. So this woman's walking towards me with her dog, and she starts talking to me because she thinks I'm talking to her, because Instagram Live isn't a thing that people do. So like sitting and speaking on a phone, like FaceTime wasn't even that big, especially I grew up, this is in Shetland. It's an island north of Scotland. So it's a little bit behind the times sometimes. Like I think that's accurate and fair to say. So this woman's walking towards me. She thinks I'm talking to her. She's talking to me. I'm talking to the screen. I'm trying to talk to her. She stops in front of me. I have to stop because she's stopped in front of me. And I'm like saying like, oh, I'm on Instagram Live, try not to put her in the shot, because I'm like, oh, I don't want to offend anyone. I don't want anyone to get upset. I'm like a massive people pleaser back in the day at the time. So I was like, oh, all of these like stressors, like anxiety alarms are ringing in my brain. And then her dog starts doing its business in the screen, because it's like half on me, not on her, but it is on the dog. And it's just like, I mean, it's the perfect time to say it's a shit show, pun completely intended. And I am just mortified. I somehow get off this live, and I know that I'm going to this person's house. And I know as soon as I get there, they were the kind of personality that would 100% talk about it and not be very kind about it. And that's exactly what happened. And it was really embarrassing. And that was my first live. So I understand when people are nervous about lives, because that was my first one and it was terrible. But I say that to you now after hundreds of hours of being live since then. And now I know what I wish I had known then in terms of perspective and in terms of how to become better at speaking, that I want to share it with you. So I hope that you had a laugh and a giggle and you maybe peed your pants. You're welcome. And let's dive in with, what do you actually need so that you can speak up online without freaking out? Because in that example, in that situation, I was freaking out about everything. I was not in a safe environment at all. I was so majorly stressed and I hadn't prepped anything. But what I know to be true now is that you absolutely must have these three things. So the first thing you must have is honesty. Honesty. You have to have done what you're talking about. So if you're saying that you should work out before and then go live and talk about the benefits of working out. You know, if you have done what you're talking about, if you believe in what you're saying, it's going to be so much easier for that to come out, right? Because you don't have to fake anything. You're being honest. So it makes it so much easier. So when you're speaking up online, be honest. And I know that this can be hard to be honest with ourselves, never mind everyone else. But the more honesty that you have, the easier it's going to be. And this goes for lives and life. A little bit of that life coaching nugget in there for you today. And the second thing you must have is trust. I know these are all pretty words and they're kind of graspy, they're abstract concepts maybe, but you must have trust that you'll be okay, that you'll do this live and that no matter what, you'll be okay. Even though that person didn't think that, my live was the most amazing thing, the person that I was dating that I embarrassed myself in front of didn't think that I was the most amazing thing because I'd gone live. I now don't have people in my life like that. That's one thing. I'm very particular, and not to a point where I cut out people, to a point where I'm very particular with how I spend my time and who I spend it with. And I have to know that people are going to have my back. That's really important for me. I like to have support, and I think it's important for all of us. My husband would never, if I went live, would never say that I bombed it. Even if I did. Like, if I started speaking at events and the first time I sweated my makeup off, my mascara running down my face, accidentally farted, like something terrible, that would just be so embarrassing. He'd be like, you did amazing. I need that. I need that, like, bias support sometimes. That's what my husband's great for. So like having people that trust in you is really helpful for your own trust. You shouldn't need it, and I don't need it. It's just nice to have, right? But if you have that trust that you'll be okay and that people will love and support you no matter what, then it's so easy to show up because you've got nothing to lose. I have nothing to lose by coming on here. I have everything to gain and I have every way in the world to help you. Isn't that a gift? So I trust in that. And I also trust that when I do things that suck, because I will, right? Maybe you've seen some of them. I'll learn. I'll learn from that and I'll grow from that, and it will be better next time. And then I'll look back. So this is what I get to do now. And I hope that you have this moment. I look back at that first live that was so embarrassing, so mortifying. It is burned in my brain. I can look back and think, wow, look at how much I've grown. Look at how much I've learned. And it's a complete honor and a gift because I chose to do step 3, which is put in the reps. Okay, so I understand that everyone usually says when they're talking about reps, they'll either talk about the gym or they'll talk about remember when you started to drive. So I have just started learning to drive. I didn't drive in the UK, I was driven. And I tried to learn a few times, but now we have a joke in our house and in our family that I wasn't meant to drive in the UK because I would have learned to drive on the wrong side of the road. So it's good that I learned to drive in America. So I'm genuinely learning to drive right now. And in learning to drive, there are some things I'm confident with, there are some things I'm just not confident with, and it takes reps. So, for example, I started rolling about. We have a ranch here in Texas, and I started rolling about on our Rangers. Some of them are bigger than our car. And I started rolling about on them and checking on cows and turning on and off water troughs and driving just for the sake of driving to get experience, because I was such a nervous wreck behind the wheel, and that comes from past experiences and past trauma in my life. But I was such a nervous wreck behind the wheel. So I started to get a little bit more confident with it, and I started to enjoy it. I started to do it more often. I started to enjoy it. So then when it came to me getting my driver's permit, and I was like, okay, this isn't so bad. I think I'll be okay. There's other people on the road, which is the part that scares me the most, but it's okay. And we'll be fine. And we'll just go on some country roads and we'll start there. And my mother-in-law actually took me out for my first driving lesson. And we did really well. We had a lot of fun, and by the time that I was just used to that car and used to the roads that we were on, I was okay. Then we started going a little bit faster, so I had to get a little bit more comfortable at 65. My husband still sits in the passenger seat and says, "How do we feel about 65?" And I'll be at 60 and I'm like, "Okay," hands shaking on the wheel. And I do it and then I'm getting better at it. But now where I'm at is like driving in town. So I can drive on a country road when it's just me. I can drive 65, 70. But when I'm in town and there's pedestrians and there's other cars and I have to stop and start, and that just gives me the fear right now. But I know that all I need are reps. And it's the same with going live. There's a progression. You can start in a closed Facebook group that is just for you, that you create, so that you just go live and live and live, and you practice pressing the buttons, you practice, you maybe watch yourself back if you're feeling brave, you learn things. And then after that, maybe you go live on your own personal page, or maybe you go live in another group that you're a part of. Maybe you join a group that allows you to have that functionality so that you can get the experience. So there are progressions. Maybe you record YouTube unlisted and you don't post anything for anyone else, but you just do it for yourself to get the experience. So it's all about how many times are you willing to do it, and you'll start to push yourself beyond your limits. You'll start to think, hey, I'm pretty good at this live thing, or maybe I said something pretty great there. I could share that. I could share that, and you will. So it's all about how many times are you willing to show up and try the hard thing, the scary thing, and try it in a way that is safe for you. Not when you're outside in the middle of the day, have no notes, have not thought about it, it's a little bit windy, you're going to see someone that you're dating and you're feeling nervous about that anyway, and that's not the perfect environment for your safety. That's the perfect environment for your anxiety, not for your safety. So when you're building these reps, be as safe as possible. Enjoy the process as much as possible. This doesn't have to be something to freak you out. This is something where, as a coach, you get to connect with anyone in the world, any number of people in the world, and you can help them instantly at the click of a button. As soon as you hit that live, you can help someone. And if that's why you're here, then I'm guessing that's why you're watching this video, because you want to know, how can I get my message out? How can I share? Know that you have everything in you to do it. And it's not fear of judgment. And this is something that I just want to tackle before we close up for today. This is an extra kind of bonus nugget. It's not fear of judgment of other people and what they'll think, and that we're going to be ruined or we're going to be rejected. I think that we spend a lot of time there and think that's the problem. But a lot of the times it's not the problem. A lot of the times the problem is, I don't know what I'm saying because I'm not honest with myself, and I'm not honest with who I can help. And you can look back, my last YouTube video from last week was all about how you can find and source content. It's called what's it called? It's called What Do You Say Online? What can I say online? Look for Say Online. It will be there, right? It's last week. And if you watch that, then you'll get all the content ideas that you need for your niche and to do what you're going to do. So when you know what people want to hear, you're just giving your honest opinion. Maybe you're not honest in life, and maybe that's something to work on. And we'll look at some hacks for that next week. But maybe you could start being a little bit more honest with yourself so that you can show up and you can be honest with others. Maybe you'll start to build trust in yourself because you'll start to do things that scare you and realize that you're okay and you're not Chicken Little and the sky's not falling. And maybe you'll just start to put in some reps, because usually that's where the fall down is. It's in the skills that we have. It's not in the fear that we have of others. It's just easier to say that because no one questions that. Oh, you're scared of what people might think? I understand, because everyone's scared of what people will think of them. I understand, and you get empathy, and then people get all girlfriendy and all they want to do is tell you about their stories and you tell them yours and you're like, oh yeah, I know it's so hard. And then no one grows. This is a place where you're going to grow. If you follow this channel, you can like and subscribe. If you follow me, this is a place where you grow. And to grow, you have to take responsibility. You have to say, there are things I could do better in my life, not because I'm bad, but because I can do them better, because I'm an empowered person and because I believe in myself. And if I believe in myself enough, then I might just start believing that I can help others and I can coach others and I can help them too. And that's one of the greatest gifts of my life. So I hope that you get there. And if you follow me and you implement, you will. I promise you that. And to close out today, our power question is, where and how can you be more honest with yourself? As our concluding point for today and our power question, because I know that it's in you. I know that it's in you to coach. I know that it's in you to share. I know that it's scary when you go online and you're nervous and you're anxious and you start freaking out, but you're stronger than that. You work on you. So be more honest with you. And you'll not only be confident going live, you win the game of life. The more honest you can be. So that is our power question. Where and how can you be more honest with yourself? I will be back next week with how to speak up online without freaking out part 2. These are going to be the hacks of how you're actually going to do it. You know, today was a lot about perspective. I wanted to break your brain today and show you that you have the capacity to do this. Don't blame other people. Remember that this is your skills. This is your life. It's not about anyone else. Not about anyone else. It's about you. That's why we're here. I'll see you next week. And in the meantime, I'll be over here believing in you.